Hi, this is Rabbi Daniel Raven, Rabbi at the Northeastern Jewish Center. So it's been a very difficult week in world news. As we all know, the terrible terrorist attacks in Paris, France, and our prayers and thoughts are with the people of France. And also, of course, our brothers and sisters in Israel who experience this terrorism, countless, every day in, day out. You read of terrible, shocking things that are occurring there. And of course, to all other places in the world, those at the hands of Boko Haram terrorism, we send our strong condemnation of any acts of terrorism. And therefore, I think about the very silly and foolish words that the Secretary of State John Kerry said this week, where he was talking to, I think, embassy staff, and he mentioned that obviously this is recorded publicly and live, where he said he was comparing this week's terrorist attacks in France to those some months ago, the Charlie Hebdo attacks, and he foolishly said that you can contrast the two. Back then there was some type of rationale, perhaps we can understand the anger. This week we can't. And I think, how can a person say such a thing where he's trying to find some type of rationality for terrorism, some type of excuse? Very, very dangerous to start finding reasons and excuses, because unfortunately it empowers terrorism. And I think John Kerry, I've got this flyer following me over here, John Kerry could possibly learn from our portion this week, Parashas Vayetze, and our ancestor Jacob, Yaakov Avinu, who our Torah tells us, interesting episode. He was traveling to Haran, he was running away from his brother Esau, and on his way he goes to sleep, and it says that he placed stones to rest on the stones. And Rashi, the foremost biblical commentator, tells us he placed them around his head to protect himself from the wild animals. And of course the question is, why only protect his head? So perhaps on some metaphoric sense, the Torah is teaching us something profound, and that is, the world around us, unfortunately, there's sometimes dangers. There's animals, wild animals if you like, wanting to pounce, to attack. And that could be they're trying to steal our minds. They're trying to misinterpret the way we think, trying to abuse the way we think. So what Yaakov Avinu did, he placed stones around his head. He placed a barrier, perhaps even like a filter, to protect from the misinterpretation. And therefore, what the Torah is telling us is, when you want to share your thoughts with others, make sure you're very careful and think it through very carefully before you teach it to others, before you express your opinion. Because unfortunately, the animals can pounce on it and can really take it and abuse it. And I think John Kerry, the next time he wants to start talking about terrorism, to really think it through first, to put a lot of barriers around his head and think it through very, very carefully, because the ramifications and the danger of trying to justify terrorism, unfortunately, just creates and harbors even more terrorism. And therefore, may we all learn about the way we communicate and always try and think before we speak. Wishing you and yours a Shabbat Shalom, and see you next week.